The world had grown quiet since the Seraph War began, quiet in the way graveyards are, the kind of silence that hums in your bones, whispering that everything familiar is gone. Somewhere between the burnt cities and the dusted mountains, a small human outpost clung to life. They called it Kestrel's Hollow, though there were no Kestrels left to name it for. Only smoke, metal, and the stubborn heartbeat of survivors who refused to die quietly. The Larricane crouched beside a cracked radio in the medic hut, its light flickering like the pulse of a dying patient. She twisted a copper wire, coaxing static into sound. Her fingers, stained with old blood, trembled not from fear, but exhaustion. A medic's hands weren't supposed to shake, yet hers did every time she remembered the screaming. Every time she remembered how little mercy the Ascendants showed. Then, through the static, his voice. "Mayday. This is Echo Unit. Ascendants inbound. Need evac from medic team at Grid 7. Her brother, Rylan." The message cut out with a snap, like the world itself exhaling its last breath. Illyra froze, the sound still echoing in her mind. She grabbed her pack before anyone could stop her. Commander Doyle shouted her name from across the hall, but his voice faded behind the pounding in her ears. She'd followed Rylan into hell before. She'd do it again. Outside, the night was cold and alive with mist. The moon reflected in puddles of fuel-slick water. Each step through the mud felt heavier than the last. Her boots were too worn, her breath too sharp, but she didn't care. Somewhere out there was the only family she had left, and if the galaxy itself stood between them, she would carve through it with her bare hands. The valley of Grid 7 reeked of ozone and smoke. The air shimmered with residual plasma heat. She found the wreckage easily, a smoldering transport half buried in ash. The insignia of Echo Unit was still visible on its hull, burned but not erased. She called his name. Once. Twice. Nothing but the distant drip of melted metal answered. She moved closer, scanning for movement. The grass crunched beneath her boots, brittle as bone. A faint human groan reached her from behind a pile of twisted plating. She rushed to it and found a soldier pinned beneath debris, chest barely rising. His eyes, bloodshot and terrified, flicked towards something behind her. Too late. A deep hum filled the air, a sound that wasn't human. The Ascendant stepped from the fog, tall, silver-skinned, their armor glimmering like moonlight reflected on oil. Their faces were expressionless, their movements almost reverent. Two of them, both carrying plasma lances. The medic's instinct made her raise her hands, but their gaze wasn't one of diplomacy. It was clinical detachment, like scientists examining a failed experiment. "Human medic," one intoned, its voice metallic and calm. "Cease resistance. Compassion is inefficient." Illyra's mind flashed through the dead faces she tended, the families she couldn't save, the messages she buried in the dirt. Inefficient? Compassion was all they had left. She gripped the handle of her field knife. "You first," she said and lunged. The blade sank into the joint of its neck armor. The alien shrieked, an unholy sound, somewhere between static and fury. She tried to twist the blade free, but the other warden struck, knocking her to the ground. A boot slammed against her ribs. Pain flared white-hot. She gasped but refused to scream. They spoke again, calm as priests before a sacrifice. Defiance without purpose. Typical. "You should have let extinction finish its work," the wounded one hissed. Then they turned away, leaving her broken among the wreckage. Ascendants didn't kill out of rage. They killed when they saw utility in the act. Tonight, they found none. She was beneath their notice. Her breath came ragged. One rib, two, maybe cracked. Blood filled her mouth, tasting like copper and rain. She dragged herself behind a bent-wing strut, vision blurring. Through the haze, she saw the stars, cold, distant, untouchable. She touched the locket under her collar, the one Rylan had given her the day the Hollow was built. "If you ever get lost," he'd said, "this will remind you someone's stupid enough to come find you." Her voice trembled. "Guess you're right again, big brother." She tried to laugh but coughed instead. Each breath felt thinner than the last. The cold crept up her fingers, her heartbeat slowing. The wreckage crackled. A soft hum filled the valley again. Different this time, deeper, rhythmic. Engines. Human ones. For a moment, she thought it was a hallucination, another cruel trick of a dying mind. But then came the sound, low and fierce, the sound of metal wings breaking cloud. Searchlights cut through smoke. Dust spiraled in the downdraft. The sky glowed orange with the reflection of their thrusters. Her radio, half-broken, blood-smeared, crackled alive. Echo 2 inbound. Hold position. We've got you. She laughed then, half sob, half disbelief. 7 minutes. That was all it took. 7 minutes between despair and rescue, between silence and the roar of human defiance. She pressed a trembling hand against her wound and whispered, "Took you long enough." But the aliens weren't gone yet. Their silhouettes reappeared in the glow, turning toward the incoming craft, weapons raised. Illyria reached for her sidearm, though she could barely lift it. The safety clicked off. Her aim wavered, but her eyes burned steady. "Not today," she murmured. The first shot hit the alien's shoulder. The second went wide. She kept firing until the pistol clicked empty, each bullet fueled by something more than rage, something older, love. The ascendant stumbled, bleeding luminous silver. Its head turned toward her with something almost like disbelief. Perhaps it had finally learned that humans do not die neatly. The transport landed hard, thrusters flattening the grass. Voices shouted her name. Boots pounded. Then darkness. Her last thought before it swallowed her was the same one she'd whispered under her breath 100 times before. He'll come. And he did. 7 minutes later. They would tell the story differently. Of course. Whispers of the medic who stood alone in a valley of gods and refused to kneel. They'd call her brave, reckless, human. But courage rarely feels like courage when you're living it. It feels like shaking hands, burning lungs, and the taste of your own blood. And maybe that's what it means to be human at the end of the world. To keep moving, to keep caring, to keep bleeding for someone else even when it hurts to breathe. Because mercy is not weakness. It's the last rebellion we have left. So when they tell you humanity's fire has gone out, remember this night, this valley, this woman. Remember that between life and death, between silence and salvation, there are 7 minutes that define who we are. And if you ever find yourself alone in the dark, waiting for help that may never come, hold on. They're already on their way. Smoke hung in the valley like a ghost that refused to leave. Captain Ryland Kane stepped through the haze, rifle raised, visor cracked, pulse hammering in his skull. The transport's searchlights painted the world in trembling gold. Everything smelled of burned grass and blood. "Vega," he said through the comm left flank. "Thermal sweep. If she's alive, she's moving." The sniper's voice came back steady, calm, the way only soldiers too familiar with chaos could sound. "Copy that, boss. Got movement, North Ridge, 20 meters. Faint human signature." Ryland's heart stuttered. He didn't let it show. Mark it. They moved as one. Shadows and tattered armor, boots silent on the scorched ground. The air still hummed with the residue of alien energy. Every few seconds, a stray plasma spark cracked, blue and vicious. Lieutenant Chin followed close behind, a pack of tools clanking on his hip, muttering half-prayers, half-jokes. "Feels like a trap," Chin said, scanning the fog. "You sure this is her?" Ryland didn't answer. He knew that heat signature. He'd memorized her heartbeat long before the war began. They rounded the ridge and found her. Illyria lay against the hull of a downed transport, covered in ash and blood. Her face was pale, eyes half open, like someone caught between waking and dying. Ryland dropped to his knees beside her, fingers trembling despite the years of command drilled into him. "Illyria, it's me." Her lips moved, faintly curved. 7 minutes, she whispered, voice cracked. "You're getting slow." He exhaled a laugh that was mostly pain. "You look terrible. You should see the other guys." It should have been relief. It should have been joy. But the ground shook before he could say another word. Chen's scanner flashed red. "Contacts 3, maybe 4 ascendants inbound. They're back for cleanup." "Figures," Vega said over the comm. "Can't stand losing a fight to a girl with a scalpel." Ryland lifted Illyria gently, cradling her against his chest. "Chun, get her to the evac craft. Vega, cover fire. Light them up." He turned toward the ridge as blue plasma streaks cut through the smoke. The aliens appeared like wraiths, tall, silver, serene. The lead warden moved with ritual precision, voice echoing in its helmet amplifier. Human forces, surrender your wounded. Mercy will be granted. Vega laughed darkly through the headset. They've got a weird definition of mercy. Ryland stood, rifle steady. You want her? He said. Come take her. The first plasma bolt hit the ground inches from his boots. The second struck Chen's shoulder, spinning him sideways. He grunted but stayed on his feet, dragging Alara behind a wrecked engine block. Ryland and Vega opened fire. The valley erupted into chaos. Bullets tore through fog, ricocheted off alien shields. The night pulsed with blue and red light, every flash a strobe of death. Ryland moved fast, precise. Years of muscle memory, born from too many battles, too many near deaths. He ducked low, reloaded, fired again. One alien fell, its shield shorting out in a burst of sparks. Two more advanced. Chun, he barked. I'm good, Chen shouted, voice tight. Arms dead, but brains working. I can reroute the evac engine manually. Just need 90 seconds. You've got 30. The aliens shifted formation. They were learning, adapting. Their precision bordered on divine. Humans fought like chaos, unpredictable, desperate, alive. The aliens fought like machines tuned to perfection. Ryland felt the difference in his bones. One side fought for command, the other fought for someone they loved. A plasma bolt scorched the ground near Vega's perch. Boss, Vega grunted, I'm pinned. These guys move like ballet dancers from hell. Hold them, Ryland said. I'm flanking. He sprinted through the smoke, sliding behind a fallen wing. His armor's warning lights flashed red, power cells draining fast. He tore a grenade from his belt, primed it, and hurled it. The explosion threw dust and fire into the night, knocking two ascendants off balance. When the smoke cleared, one still stood, taller, unscarred, its armor glowing brighter than the others. A commander. It spoke in a voice that carried through the din. Your defiance is meaningless. The war is lost. Humanity is lost. Ryland stepped forward, eyes burning. You keep saying that. But I'm still here and you're still bleeding. The alien tilted its head, almost curious. You will die protecting one. Irrelevant. He raised his rifle, chambered his last round. She's not irrelevant. She's my sister. They fired at the same time. The alien's plasma seared through his shoulder plate. His bullet punched through its throat. Both dropped to one knee, both gasping. The alien fell first. Ryland staggered, clutching his wound. Vega status. 2 down. Thirds retreating. Guess they don't like the taste of duct tape and bullets. He limped toward the engine block, where Chin crouched beside Alara. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes fluttering open. Ryland, she whispered, you can't win this. He smiled, bloody and tired. Who said anything about winning? The valley trembled again, this time from something larger. A looming silhouette in the sky, descending slow and deliberate. Not a transport, a carrier. An ascendant warship, sleek and silver, blocking the stars. Vega cursed. That's not cleanup. That's annihilation. Ryland looked around. No artillery, no heavy guns, no reinforcements. Just 3 humans, a dying medic, and the wreckage of what used to be hope. Chen's hands shook. Boss, if that ship fires, we're vapor. Ryland's eyes fell on the downed transport beside them. Its power core cracked open, energy pulsing erratically. He made the decision before he could talk himself out of it. Chun, can you overload the core manually? Chun stared at him, realization dawning. Overload? As in make it go boom? Big enough to fry the valley and anything hovering above it. Chin hesitated. You won't make it out. Ryland wiped blood from his mouth. Not planning to. Vega's voice went quiet. Boss, don't. Get her out, Ryland said. That's an order. He knelt beside Alara again, pressing a trembling hand to her cheek. You always said I was late. Her eyes filled with tears. Don't you dare. He smiled, faint and tired. Guess I'm early this time. He stood, rifle slung over his shoulder, and limped toward the transport. The sky above shimmered as the warship charged its main weapon, energy gathering in its core. Every second felt stolen, every breath borrowed. He climbed into the wreckage, found the exposed core, and began bypassing the safeties. Sparks danced across his hands. Chen's voice crackled in his ear, pleading, "You got 30 seconds before that thing melts you alive." "30's enough," Ryland said softly. "Tell her I kept my promise." The countdown hit 10. He looked toward the sky, saw the alien ship's cannon glow brighter, and whispered, "For Kestrel's Hollow. For her." Then the world turned white. The explosion swallowed sound, light, everything. The valley became a sun. The warship's hull split apart like glass under fire, raining molten shards across the mountains. Vega and Chen were thrown clear by the shockwave, shielding Alera's body. For a long moment, there was nothing but a storm of light and the faint echo of a human voice carried on the wind. Laughter, fearless, defiant. When the light faded, only Ash remained where he stood. And somewhere beyond the smoke, a single phrase whispered to the static of broken radio. "You left her to die. That was your first mistake." Because sometimes, courage isn't about surviving the fire. It's about becoming it. So when they tell you the human spirit is fragile, remember this night. Remember the man who faced gods with a broken rifle and a promise. Remember that love can ignite a warship, that sacrifice can burn brighter than any sun. And if you ever doubt what humanity can do in 7 minutes, just listen to the echo. Dawn broke over the valley, soft and golden, brushing against the ruins where the fire had finally gone out. The air was heavy with the scent of melted metal and ozone. Smoke rose in slow, tired spirals, as though reluctant to leave the place that had seen so much of humanity's rage and love in one night. Alera woke to silence, an unfamiliar, frightening kind. Her body ached with every heartbeat, her vision swimming between pain and memory. The last thing she remembered was Ryland's face, illuminated by the glow of that doomed engine core, his eyes steady as the world came undone. The medbay ceiling above her was white, sterile, indifferent. Machines hummed beside her bed, measuring what was left of her. She turned her head and found Chen sitting nearby, arm in a sling, eyes red from too many sleepless nights. "Welcome back," he said softly. "You almost didn't make it." Her voice was a ghost of itself. "Ryland." Chen's silence said more than words ever could. He looked down, then reached into his jacket and placed something in her trembling hand. Ryland's dog tags. Cold metal, stained with ash, heavy with memory. "He made sure you did," Chen whispered. Alera clutched the tags until they cut into her skin. "How long?" 3 days, he said. The explosion took the whole ridge. Wiped the Ascendant's carrier off the map. Command says it's the first major kill since the siege of Melbourne. They're calling it a miracle. She almost laughed. Miracles cost too much. Chen hesitated, then leaned closer. The others need to believe in something. Alera, give them that. He stood and left quietly, leaving her alone with the hum of machines and the unbearable weight of absence. She pressed the tags to her chest and closed her eyes. The metal was still warm from his fire. Outside the medbay, Kestrel's Hollow was stirring back to life. People moved among the ruins, clearing debris, setting up new walls. There were no songs, no celebrations, just the quiet rhythm of survival, the kind humans had perfected. Days passed before Alera could walk again. Each step felt like an act of rebellion, each breath a refusal to let his sacrifice fade. She wore his tags around her neck, the chain brushing her collarbone with every heartbeat. The others avoided her at first. They didn't know what to say to the woman whose brother had turned himself into a son. But slowly, the whispers began. They say he overloaded a power core by hand, burned the sky itself, didn't even scream. It spread to the camp like folklore. Ryland Kane, the man who made gods bleed. Alera listened to it all in silence. She didn't correct him. The truth was smaller, quieter, more human. He hadn't been fearless. He just loved someone too much to let the universe take her. That was all courage ever was. One evening, Vega found her by the wall where they carved names of the fallen. He was limping, his sniper rifle now serving as a walking stick, his humor dimmed but not gone. "They put his name up this morning," he said. Ilera looked at the wall. Ryland Kane. Simple. Final. "Take it down," she said. Vega frowned. "You sure?" "He's not lost," she murmured. "He's just everywhere that burns." Vega studied her for a moment, then smiled faintly. "You sound like him." "God help me." He chuckled, then turned serious. "The command's reorganizing units. They want you to lead Echo now." Said no one else could fill his boots. She traced a finger over her brother's name, then nodded. "He'd like that. He always wanted me to take his job." He probably didn't mean it literally. "Too late now." Vega's grin faded into something respectful. "We've got reports. Ilera, the Ascendants are pulling back from 3 sectors. Whatever he did out, they're scared the hell out of them." "Good," she said quietly. "Let them learn fear. It's overdue." That night, she returned to the valley. The path was half buried under ash and new grass. Nature was already trying to heal what war had broken. The crater where the transport had stood was now a hollow bowl, blackened but strangely peaceful. The stars shimmered overhead, brighter than she remembered, as though the sky itself was trying to honor him. She knelt at the center of the crater and placed his tags into the dirt. The metal glinted in the starlight. Her hands trembled, not from weakness, but from everything left unsaid. "I used to think survival was the hard part," she whispered. "But living after someone like you, that's harder." A soft wind stirred, carrying the scent of rain. The night felt alive again. She could almost hear him laughing somewhere, that same crooked laugh that used to fill their kitchen before the world went to war. Her eyes lifted to the horizon, where the faint glow of distant fires marked the line between peace and the next battle. "They think extinction is an event," she said to the empty sky. "We know it's a choice, and we don't choose it." Behind her, footsteps crunched. Chun and Vega stood at the ridge, watching in silence. Vega raised a hand, almost in salute. "Orders came through," he called softly. "We move at dawn. New outpost near the northern line." Ilera turned, eyes reflecting the starlight. "Then we keep moving." Chun looked at the crater, then back at her. He'd be proud. She smiled faintly. He already was. As they walked back toward the lights of Kestrel's Hollow, the sky above them shimmered with faint auroras, residual energy from the explosion. It looked like the heavens themselves were on fire, painting the night in the color of human defiance. Word of Ryland's final stand spread beyond the valley, across the broken cities and hidden outposts. Soldiers whispered the story before missions. Parents told it to children born in bunkers. Even some Ascendants began to speak his name, though they did not understand it. To them, he was a warning. To humans, he was a reminder. Ilera carried that reminder like a torch. When she led Echo Unit into battle weeks later, the air crackled with the same energy that had filled the valley that night. Her orders were quiet, deliberate. Her hands didn't shake anymore. "Remember what he taught us," she told him as the dropship roared overhead. "The fight's not about vengeance. It's about making sure there's something left worth saving." The soldiers nodded. One of them whispered, 7 minutes. She smiled. "That's all we ever need." The engine screamed, and they launched into the dark once more. Somewhere between heaven and hell, Ryland Kane's name burned brighter than any constellation. And in the rhythm of gunfire and courage, his sister carried him forward, one heartbeat at a time. Because grief, when shaped by love, becomes purpose. And purpose is what keeps humanity standing long after logic says it shouldn't. So when they tell you our species is broken, remember this. We are the ones who bury our dead in soil still hot from battle and plant hope in the ashes. We are the ones who mourn and laugh and fight again anyway. They left a young woman to die. Her brother answered with fire. And somewhere in every act of defiance, in every whispered promise not to quit, his echo still lives. When the night feels too long, when the world feels too cruel, listen for that echo. It sounds like a heartbeat, and it's saying, "We do not kneel. We do not break. We survive.